Hey, this is Blake Moynes from season 16 of The Bachelorette, and you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
This is the Bros Ceremony,
Your journey's about to begin.
recapping the week that was in Bachelor Nation and previewing what's to come in the next episode with some special betting odds.
Everyone can't wait to find out what happens next week.
Here are your hosts, Michael the Hound Dog Harrison and Adam Scully.
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Let love lead the way. Welcome to a very special edition of the Bros Ceremony podcast. Adam Scully alongside Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. And Michael, this episode, very special for a multitude of different reasons. But most importantly, our show, Bros Ceremony, is presented by Honey Bee Meals. We are very proud to partner together with Honey Bee Meals as our sponsor. We are truly pumped.
Big time. It's I've had honeybee meals for what, 4 or 5 months or whatever. So we literally can say, and you have as well, you've had it for even longer than me, I believe. You could actually say, and we can say that we didn't just get a sponsor and all of a sudden we're talking up. We actually have had this for months and months and months, and maybe even for like a year or something for you. So we both love it so much, and we're so excited to have them on as a sponsor for this podcast.
We are so excited. So Honeybee Meals, they deliver every week, and we are excited to also say that you, the viewer, can also enjoy Honeybee Meals on a special discount. When you plug in Bros Ceremony 15 on their discount code on honeybeemeals.com, you get 15% off your first order. Bros Ceremony 15, 15% off your first order. They're easy. They come to your door, put it in the microwave. 2.5 minutes later, you have a nutritious and delicious meal. We are so excited to have Honeybee Meals on tap here for the Bros Ceremony podcast. We'll discuss Honeybee Meals a little more later on in the show. But where we left off, Michael, in episode 7 of the Bros Ceremony podcast presented by Honeybee Meals, was when Sarah fainted at the end of the last rose ceremony. And that's where, the episode came to a halt. Pick things up. Sarah seems to be okay. And Queen Victoria, still in the spotlight again, thinks it was a little fake.
Are you suggesting that Queen Victoria is fake and phony and not a real?
No. I was saying Queen Victoria was saying Sarah's fainting.
I was pretty offended there, Adam. I was going to say, come on. Clearly, Queen Victoria is, the most wholesome individual, not only in this season of The Bachelor, perhaps in the history of The Bachelor, just the most wonderful woman and contestant of all time, just an outstanding individual. But yes, she definitely did think Sarah was handing it up, which is so funny too, of course, because as we know, Queen Victoria is faking a lot of things and is hamming it up. So I think she just didn't she didn't, of course, like that Sarah was stealing her spotlight.
Yeah, I didn't like that for sure. And also didn't like the fact that Matt James, the great guy that he is, the Bachelor, came to Sarah's aid right away. And they sort of had this, not a one-on-one by any means, but they had some time together and he helped her get back to life, I guess.
Yep. And then obviously she went back into the rose ceremony. And of course, unfortunately, a few women had to leave the show, including a woman that drew the ire of Queen Victoria, Marilyn. You would have thought that perhaps they would have maybe kept her on the show another week or two just for the potential drama with Queen Victoria. But it came down to the final rose. It was, who's going to get the last one? We have no idea. Oh, wait a minute. We saw the preview for the next week's episode. We saw like 18 different shots of Queen Victoria in that preview. I wonder who gets the last rose. Shocker. It was her.
Shocker. Spoiler alert. Queen Victoria stays on. Marilyn goes home. Now, you mentioned some ladies didn't get any roses. 5 ladies went home, including Alana. Yes, Canada's own Alana Milne. And Michael, guess what? We are very proud to announce that Alana is going to join us here on the Bros Ceremony podcast presented by Honeybee Meals, where we'll discuss her time on The Bachelor, what went right, what went wrong, Queen Victoria, and maybe we'll see her in paradise. We'll discuss that and much more with Alana right now.
cheers to the first group date.
And we're pleased to welcome Alana Milne from season 25 of The Bachelor to the show. Alana, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so the show's been on now for obviously a couple of weeks, but how much has your life changed since going on The Bachelor?
Well, I still don't have a fiance. No, I mean, I've heard from a lot of people from my past that have seen me on the show. My DMs have blown up quite a bit since I've been voted off the show. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to get back to regular life though, as best as I can. It's not really regular for any of us right now in a pandemic, but doing my best.
And what was the process for you when you got onto the show? What was the process? Did you apply? Were you recruited, or how did all that work?
I applied, and then before I knew it, someone reached out to me, and I was in Pennsylvania, and it just happened so quickly like that.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, Matt James has had rave reviews for what he is and who he is and what he's done so far. But when you first saw Matt, what was your first impression?
I think it really eased my nerves when I first saw Matt because it was his first time going through this as well. So we were kind of on the same page in that sense, and it just put me more at ease. He's an easy person to be around.
And then obviously, when you did first meet him, it was a legendary moment of the show with the spaghetti lady in the tramp style kiss with him. How did all that go down? Walk me through, you deciding to do that.
So during quarantine in Toronto, I was alone for most of it, and I started making a lot of different kinds of food, and I got really good at making fresh pasta. So that was where the idea came from. It might be cuter when two cartoon dogs are doing it now that I've watched it back, but it was a nice little way to break the ice. So I think it was cute. I'm happy I did it.
No, it was great. And on that first night as well, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you had the same dress as Anna as well. How rattling was that? Was it just like, oh no, you stole my dress? What the hell? Come on.
Initially, you have that moment of being disappointed because you wanted to look special that night. But we both brushed it off, laughed about it. We both looked great in the dress. So, what are you going to do?
Now, you mentioned a little earlier in quarantine, making fresh pasta. Our new sponsor, Honeybee Meal, also makes some great pasta. That's a bit of a weird segue there. But, to the average viewer on TV, it seemed like Matt was sort of almost bending over to hug everyone. Is Matt 6'8" or what?
I'm pretty sure he's 6'5".
Okay.
He's over a foot taller than me. So night one, I wore like 7-inch heels to try and make it a closer connection. But yeah, he's very tall.
Oh man. Okay. That's good to know. 6'5". Okay. So for all the bro ceremony viewers watching from coast to coast, Matt, 6'5". So we're a couple episodes into this season, and one of the main characters on the show that has gained a lot of buzz across the social media platforms is Queen Victoria. What were your thoughts on her?
I think that everyone handles high stress situations differently, and what you're seeing maybe how she's handling a high stress situation. You're pretty much getting what was happening. Maybe just the highlight reel of that, but you're still getting what was happening. So my take's the same as yours, likely.
Do you ever get the sense like when that's going on that you're sort of like, she's glamming up for the cameras or trying to be his character or trying to be someone that's the villain of the season? Like, do you ever get a sense of like, okay, this is probably not actually how they are, or was it just what you see is what you get with her?
It's difficult because I wasn't there for that long. I mean, I did get to know her being there, but it's hard to tell, if she is putting on a front. I wasn't there long enough to see her let it come down. But she definitely acts how we see as viewers. And you coach, by the way, to say like, letting walls down and, being vulnerable and all these different words. Like, I love these catchphrases in the show. Like, there has to be like,
the first episode alone, the word vulnerable was said like 14 times or something. It's like, there's no way, no one in a regular life setting says the word vulnerable that much.
That's probably true, but this isn't a regular life setting.
That's true. Good point.
That's very true. Now, going through your ABC profile, so on one of our shows leading into the Bachelor premiere, we did an in-depth preview where we spoke about all 32 of the contestants. We went through their bio, talked about everyone had 3 quick hitters, and you said you are the queen of puns.
Oh gosh.
If you had a favorite pun, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question.
I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize, but that's what we do here.
Right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, I do have a favorite pun actually.
Okay.
I'm a big plant girl. I love my plants. So a great pun for plants is you can't buy flowers if you haven't bought any.
I like it. That's good.
Touche.
My favorite pun, and it's always cringeworthy or no one really understands it, is your teeth are like the stars. They come out at night. And people are, what does that even mean? Usually, thank you for your courtesy laughter on that one. Usually people are just like, I don't even understand that one.
Hey, I didn't understand it for sure.
False teeth.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Did you ever, by the way, you said that you're the queen of puns. Did you ever want to fight Queen Victoria for the nickname Queen because you're the queen of puns?
I happily abdicate my throne. Like, no, I'm not going to get in a fight for queens.
That's good. How bizarre, by the way, at the rose ceremony, was the scene when Sarah fainted, all that?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely nerve-wracking for everyone. Because there were still roses to be handed out, and I didn't expect her to faint, but I did know that she was having a hard time. So what we saw last week's episode wasn't completely surprising to me, but I think that everyone handles these situations differently, like I said about Victoria, and you never really know how it's going to affect you until you're there.
And those rose ceremonies, like just hours and hours and hours, like that just must be just brutal to have to stand through all that.
Yeah, they're pretty long, but like once it gets going, it's surprising how quickly it goes by, especially when you don't have a rose in your hand and names keep getting called and they're not yours. So, yes, long, but quicker than you hope. I'll say that.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, out of curiosity, you've been on the show. What was it like watching yourself on the show? And like, was your phone just blowing up throughout the episode saying, "Oh, like, why'd you do this?" or "Your hair looked great here," or "You wore a great dress here"? Like, what was it like watching yourself and getting a reaction from friends and family?
It was like scary watching myself, to be honest. I'm enjoying the show more now that I'm not on it anymore because I'm not worried about anything I might do or say. But, I'm happy with how I handled myself. So I think that the response that I got from friends and family was, nothing that I was ever having a hard time with. People were proud of me and how I acted and remained true to myself.
That's good. I had a question I was wondering about. Whenever people leave the show, and it's always, I've talked about this on this podcast before. It's always in the limo ride. There's a limo ride, and then they go for, I don't know. I'm assuming it's only like a 1-minute ride till the camera's out of view, and people never wear seatbelts ever. No one's ever wearing their seatbelt on those. I'm like, there has to be not an actual drive off. Is that correct?
I didn't get in a car personally since we were already at the hotel we're staying at. So I can't answer that for you. I'm sorry.
True. But yeah, I find it so funny. It's just like someone's in the limo, they drive off, no seatbelt. It's like, no, put a seatbelt on. But it happens every single time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, It's certainly wild. So obviously, full disclosure, Michael and I, we're Canadian. We're based in Toronto. Serena P, also Canadian. Did you guys have like a Canadian bond, or like what was going on there?
We immediately realized we're both from Canada, and so that was nice to have. And she's a super sweet girl, and after seeing her one-on-one date last week, I am really rooting for her. I think they have a great connection, so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some of the other women on the show that you're close with?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna list off the whole cast.
Nice.
They're all like, the girls are just really great, and I think that for me personally, since I didn't have time with Matt, really the girls were the best part of the show for me. I really bonded with the girls I was sent home with. They're all so sweet. Kristen, Marilyn, Ileana, Sydney, just great girls. Abigail's wonderful, Maggie's wonderful, Bree, Serena, Rachel, I'm told you, I'm going to say the whole cast. Everyone is just great.
Before we let you go, we asked Blake Moynes the same question for those who get eliminated from The Bachelor or Bachelorette. The next thing to look forward to, of course, is Paradise. Have you given it any thought? What do you think?
I would definitely go on Paradise. I would love to go on some dates on The Bachelor. So Paradise would be a great way to do it. And yeah, if they asked me, I'd definitely be interested.
Good to know. Well, Alana, really appreciate your time today. Stay safe in those storms. Congratulations on all the success you've had so far. And hopefully we see you a little later on Paradise.
Thank you, guys.
Ladies, gentlemen, it's the final rose tonight.
Michael, was awesome to have Alana Milne on the podcast here. Told some great stories. Always great to get that, inside baseball, if you will, feeling of she was on the show, for avid fans like you and I and those who are watching us from coast to coast, whether you're in New Zealand or Sweden, people are watching this everywhere. One of the main takeaways I took from this, Queen Victoria has been a focal subject on this season of The Bachelor, and Alana didn't mince words when talking about Queen Victoria.
Well, the fact that she didn't say a whole lot about Queen Victoria almost was, that was more telling than anything. But that's no surprise if you watch the show. She's my favorite line Alana did say in the season was about Queen Victoria. She's like, sorry, really leaning into the Canadian thing, which is awesome. Sorry, stop being an idiot. It's just like, yep, that's really, really funny. So yeah, she didn't particularly love Queen Victoria. Doesn't seem like many of the women do. So you can't blame her.
And it was interesting because, so obviously Queen Victoria has been a villain throughout, but as we'll get into, I thought things switched with Queen Victoria, in my opinion, during this episode. And that's where we're going to pick this up. So, the rose ceremony ends. Uncle Harrison walks in and tells the ladies that Matt has trouble feeling uncomfortable. And that's where he sort of leaves it. Ladies, we have 3 dates this week and they're excited, including a one-on-one rose ceremony. The date card arrives. Big group date. We realize Matt, first of all, is a big turtleneck guy. So I think, you know what? I'm not sure about you, Michael. I can't really see myself wearing a turtleneck. Tiger Woods wore the mock turtleneck all those years. And of course, when he won the Masters back in 2019, we could discuss that at length if you really want to. But Matt rocks the turtleneck. Do you think you could rock a turtleneck?
I think I wore 1 or 2 in high school, I believe. And I've not even attempted. They were actually a nice a red turtleneck, actually.
Oh.
But you said you don't think you can rock that turtleneck. I think you should just give it a go. The next episode of the Bro Ceremony, you should rock up with a turtleneck and just see how it goes. Easily. It's you. Come on. Of course you.
Yeah, I think I could definitely try to pull it off. I'd have to purchase one first.
That just seemed like too much work.
Yeah.
It was a good idea at the time.
So anyway, the ladies are all together. They walk into this room and they hear a woman. I don't know. I'm not sure how to describe this in PG, but she's telling a love story and things are escalating a little bit, maybe a little past PG-13. And then they announce that Uncle Chris Harrison has written a book called The Perfect Letter. Did you know that he had a book, first of all?
I did not know he had a book. And in a nod to perhaps the worst product placement, maybe in the history of life, they didn't even show the book. They talked about how he had the book. They never once showed you the book. I was like, when they first mentioned, I'm like, oh, clearly they're going to show the book and all these amazing, close angles of it. You're going to see it 1873 million times approximately. And they didn't show it once. I'm like, that's sort of a bizarre thing. They sort of dipped their toe into advertising for that book, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, they sure did. I'm very curious to read the book now. I think we should definitely read it and then have Uncle Chris Harrison on the show to discuss that and several other thousands of other topics because we'd love to have him on. But then he goes on to say that, ladies, you'll be writing your love story with Matt. And they also, Ashley I was there. I'm not really sure why she was there. Of course, Ashley I met her husband, Jared, on the show. Ashley great character, but I don't really understand why she was on the show. This time
they're just basically the show shoehorning her into the show just because she's a beloved character. You like that word, by the way? Yeah, it's a pretty good word. There's any excuse to have her on the show, it seems like, and also probably because it's just funny to hear her saying some of the things that she was saying before. Like you said, when the women were walking in, you're like, wait, excuse me, what's going on here? I think they were just trying to have a little fun there. And then the women. And some of the things that they were saying when they were talking about, making love to Matt, it got a little spicy. And Matt's love making talk was rather basic bitch. Can I say that word on this podcast?
I think you can.
Yeah, I was like, really? Like, it just seemed really, really lame. I was like, okay, this is quite boring, actually.
Well, you mentioned Matt there and the ladies, obviously they loved what he was saying. The music switched right away. But then, there were a couple of notable takeaways. Kit was on there on the stage and she goes, Matt, with your long, thick legs. I didn't think she was going to say legs, but she said legs. And, things were relatively PG. Some of the women telling some stories but then things decided to go up the escalator when Katie walked up. And yes, Katie did show up on night one with a vibrator. Of course, it was a blacked out box, so you didn't actually see the vibrator, but they discussed it at length. And that's when things got a little spicier. And then, as you mentioned, Queen Victoria and
yeah, well, Katie certainly, I keep almost every single time calling her Christina because she looks so much like Christina to me. Past Bachelor in Paradise. Yes, and I think I said it from episode 1. Katie's awesome. She's just great, and it's amazing how the first episode. It's amazing how narratives have changed between Sarah, Katie, and not so much Queen Victoria. I guess it's been the same narrative, but I think episode 1, a lot of people were like, Katie, like she's just there for like. She has a vibrator. This is ridiculous. Who cares? Get rid of her. And now she's super beloved, and she is very much sex positive. And it was funny. Some of the stuff she was saying. No, it wasn't her. Was it Serena P? I think was saying she made some joke about Matt basically packing a lot of heat, and I was like, okay, yes, but no, Katie is fantastic. I love her. She's like perhaps might be my favorite actually.
Katie, I couldn't agree. I know it's not great podcasting to agree with someone, but I wholeheartedly agree with you that Katie is making waves and is now one of the favorites on this season, 100%. But when Queen Victoria went on there, basically everything she said was bleeped out. The look on Uncle Harrison and Ashley I sort of given what is she saying? The ladies were dying of laughter. But to me, did it not seem that everyone has started to come around with Queen Victoria? In my opinion, she was an absolute all-star in this episode.
Absolutely. And that's what I was starting to say, like the narrative has shifted. It's not completely changed with Victoria. I guess sort of toward the end of the episode, she kind of went back to the Victoria from episode 1, a little bit of catty towards Sarah. But no, definitely it seems like because she's sort of, integrated herself pretty well into the group of women. And they were dying laughing. I thought she was great. And, I would love to hear what she actually said there. It's probably actually funny to think that it might have actually been like the most PG thing of all time, but they're just like, you know what? Let's just bleep it all out and show some shots of people laughing. That'd be awesome if it was like the most PG thing ever.
That's true. That's true. It was awesome what she did. She always takes things to the next level, and all the ladies were dying of laughter at what she was saying. And Matt thought it was hilarious as well. The whole king and queen back and forth, and from there, of course, the other ladies in the house who weren't on the actual date were there as the live studio audience. And, there are cutaways of Serena P, Toronto's own, dying of laughter, Sarah looking incredibly uncomfortable. But from there, those ladies went home. The ladies on the date were preparing for the after party. And Michael, probably at that point, you would think pretty hungry, probably get some food. And, as I mentioned, Bros Ceremony presented by Honey Bee Meals. That'd be probably a great time if they had Honey Bee Meals there to just throw it in the microwave, 2.5, 3 minutes, and you have a nutritious and delicious meal, hot and ready for you, protein-packed, plant-based items as well for your first purchase. Bros Ceremony 15 as the discount code, 15% off your first order. Go to honeybeemeals.com. Spread the buzz.
Ooh, I like that. Good ad read, Adam. Good ad read. Yeah, honestly, they're so delicious.
They are truly delicious. Looking forward to having my next honeybee meal. And the ladies, they must be looking forward to having their honeybee meals as well. Hopefully they can get them delivered at some point. That'd be incredible. Now, for the next portion of the episode, I don't know about you, but it was cringeworthy, I think. And obviously Sarah is going through a lot, and I can't imagine what she's going through with her family situation. But it seemed like the next, 40, 45, 50 minutes were sort of dominated around her. First of all, has she seen the show before? There are 32 women all trying to date the same guy. To me, it was just a little cringeworthy. What do you think?
I'm so excited that I had to clear my throat there because what a catastrophic fall from grace for Sarah. Like the episode before, everyone was pretty much saying, like, if she doesn't win the season and she doesn't win Matt's heart, she has to be the Bachelorette. Like, she's amazing. We all love her. And then within like 30 minutes of this episode, it was like, oh my God, all the women hate her. And and then of course she interrupted Katie on her date, sorry, not her date, on her discussion with Matt. And it's just like it was an avalanche. There's a boulder going down the hill, and everyone was just ripping Sarah, including Queen Victoria. And then there was a time in that episode where she was ripping her, and then Victoria actually talked to Sarah herself. And it was like, okay, like she's ripping her behind her back, but she's actually telling her to her face as well. And it was like, is Victoria becoming the voice of reason? I was like, this is like a scary sight that she seems to be maybe kind of a normal-ish person, and then she went back to being herself a little bit. But yeah, they were trashing Sarah. It actually did, in my opinion, seem like bullying. It really did.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, some things maybe went a little too far, but then there are moments. Serena P had the next one-on-one date. Matt goes in wearing a turtleneck once again. We'll discuss that. You know what? I've got to find a turtleneck. I really think I do. Anyway, so Matt says, "Oh, like where's Sarah?" And they all said, "Oh, she's upstairs." And Matt says, "Just give me 5 minutes." I don't know, 25 minutes later, he jumps on Sarah's bed. They have this heart-to-heart conversation. Both of them truly being vulnerable at that point, being honest. Sarah, contemplating whether she wanted to be there. We'll get back into Sarah momentarily, but whatever it was more than 5 minutes. The ladies were quite vocal about that. And once again, give Queen Victoria credit, because, Matt came down and she said, this is Serena's day. This is Serena's day. Enough talking with Sarah. This is Serena's day. Queen Victoria is an all-star on The Bachelor. I'm saying it.
Are you saying essentially what I said in episode 1, that I called it early? I was on the Queen Victoria is an awesome all-star train early. Yet everyone was like, I hate her so much. I want her gone. I'm like, no, you need her to. I had the rant a couple episodes ago. You need her to stay. She's good TV. So are you saying you've come around to what I was saying 2 episodes ago? Like that I was maybe ahead of the curve? Is that what you're saying?
You were well ahead of the curve, and that post on Instagram got over 2,000 views. So I think the rest of the population is soon going to be on Team Bros Ceremony presented by Honeybee Meals. We're just going to, Queen Victoria, good on her. I mean, things might change drastically as the episodes go on. I mean, they probably will, but good for her. She's being she was great. She was great in this episode. Now I mentioned Serena P. Of course, she's Canadian, so we are cheering for her before the season. I thought she might be a bit of, the bleep disturber, causing some drama. So far, she's been your typical Canadian, sorry, giving advice. And they go on this great one-on-one date, Matt and Serena, and they had a great connection, didn't they?
They sure did, and until the donkeys got in the way, and completely, that was a really funny moment where they were just chilling and they're, they're eating. Or I think he was saying he's never done or never had a charcuterie board. Is that what he was saying?
Yeah. So they're talking back and forth, and Serena saying, "Oh, we should make a cheese board or a charcuterie board," and Matt says, "Oh, yeah, I've never made one before," and then Serena started going through it with them, and quite frankly, it looked pretty good.
Now, what Matt should have done, what he should have said is, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, I've never had a charcuterie board, but I have these honeybee meals here that are nutritious. Takes 2.5 minutes, zap it in the microwave, bing, bang, boom, you're eating it so quickly." If he had done that, oh my God, we would have erupted in excitement if he would have done that. Honeybee meals are absolutely the best. Like I said, super quick, and they're delicious and they're amazing. Bro Ceremony 15 on the website. That's the promo code, 15% off your first order. But yes, if he would have done that, if Matt would have said that, it would have made the date so much better. Do you want to hear a tremendous joke, by the way, involving keys that I thought of as soon as I saw it?
Okay. First, a couple things to unpack from that statement. Okay. First of all, tremendous ad read there. That was tremendous. Second of all, if you come out and say, do you want to hear a funny joke? It's not going to be funny. I have high expectations for this now. So okay. Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
Interesting take. Well, thank you for setting me up to failure here. When the donkey got in the way of their date and they interrupted their date, this is what I thought was, that donkey is really making an ass out of himself.
Wow. That's what we do here on the Bros Ceremony, presented by Honeybee Meals. We tell jokes. Sometimes they fall flat on their face, and sometimes they're pretty funny. I thought that was pretty good.
Okay.
Anyway,
thank you.
So Matt and Serena have this great date. They're having their sit-down portion of the meal, and things get a little hot and heavy in the sense of the conversation starts to escalate, where Serena asks, "Matt, have you ever been in love before?" What I took away from this is A, Matt hasn't been in love before. Serena has, or so she thinks she has. And B, I think Serena's auditioning to be a future host on The Bachelor. I think she's great.
Interesting. Yeah, she seemed pretty cool. I love the comment she made in this episode that she's falling in like with Matt, because that's totally normal. Oftentimes, like even with Sarah, it would be normal if you were to date a guy, or a woman if a man were to date a girl, or a girl to date a guy, or whatever, and they had like 30 other people trying to date them, that you would be insecure. You wouldn't like it. You wouldn't be very happy with it. But the way they treat the show, these people on the show, like, "Oh my God, like you're crazy for not liking this." Like, no, that's actually a normal thing. So it's always funny that the show sort of treats people who are having normal, real feelings as that's so abnormal and so weird. Mm-hmm. So I loved when Serena P said, "I'm falling in like with him," because it was like, okay, that's a normal thing to say, as opposed to "I'm falling in love with him" right away, I
feel like when we have Serena P on the Bros Ceremony podcast presented by Honeybee Meals, I think she's going to turn the conversation on us. She's just going to ask us questions. I think it'll be a 2 to 2.5 hour interview. We'll have our questions prepared for, I don't know, a 15-minute interview, and then she'll just turn the tables on us and just sort of ask us all these revealing, vulnerable, wall putting down levels of conversation, if that made any sense at all. Don't really know if it did, but Serena and Matt have this great chemistry. They have this great date, and then it goes back to the house, and we get back into the Sarah drama. And at this point, obviously a lot is going on, and she has a lot going on at home. She's not coming downstairs at all with the ladies, and Katie, being the all-star that she is, goes up and talks with her, and quite frankly, they have a very honest conversation. There's a lot going on. Katie discloses what happened with her father as well. It was a touching moment. And at that point, Sarah, came to the realization, or she had before, but then she was confirming it, that she just didn't want to be there anymore. And she went to go talk to Matt, and Matt was pretty crushed, but pretty understanding at the same time.
I honestly thought that she was going to stay this episode. Like I was like, okay, she's saying all this. She's going to talk to Matt, and then Matt's going to convince her to stay, and she's going to stay in the show. There's a tremendous opportunity and chance, I'm assuming, that she might even come back this season. I would not be surprised if that was the case at all. Like 3 episodes from now, Sarah's back. By the way, I noticed another celebrity lookalike. I have another one. Anna, the blonde girl. She was more vocal this episode than the other ones. So I really like Anna. Anna reminds me of Happy Gilmore love interest and mother on Modern Family, Julie Bowen. What do you think about that one?
That's so good.
Well,
that's so good. So good. Oh my goodness. You are on fire with these, man.
I love to make you laugh, Adam. But yeah, no, Sarah, like at the end there, what I found was weird though. Like she was crying and she was upset. I don't know if you noticed this. There was no tears. There were no tears at all. I was like, she's upset and she's, but like, where's a tear? I'm looking for one tear and I'm not seeing one, which I kind of thought was odd. And then she, of course, leaves. She decides to leave the show. And what does she do? She gets in a limousine. And as I asked Alana on the episode, she wasn't in a limousine. And I said this about one of my questions. They're always in a limousine and no seatbelt for Sarah. And this was actually an extended interview. She was actually talking for more than, the usual like 5 seconds or so. No seatbelt the entire time. I'm like, Sarah, stay safe. But no, they just don't wear seatbelts on there on the show.
Michael Harrison, big seatbelt guy, and 100%. But so that's where this episode ended. Looking forward to seeing what's coming up starting tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, where you can see where Matt's journey goes from here. So that's what happened in this episode. But Michael, there was also some juicy, spicy news coming earlier last week as well from the Bachelor Nation. Clare and Dale, the engagement where they knew each other for who knows, 10 days, whatever it was in real time. They get engaged and now they are no longer seeing each other. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, we discussed that at length, and I just never, there was something, he seemed too glib or too cocky, too arrogant about Dale. I was like, he just seems too cocksure. I just didn't trust that he wasn't going to break Claire's heart. Now, a little bit, of course, is on Claire. Like you said, it was like 5 minutes, and then they're already getting engaged. It's like, you've been on the show 4 times. Like slow it, slow your pace. You would have thought she would have done that. But obviously, it's like 90% on him. Like he was obviously at fault here, cheating on her. No surprise. Like that. This has been rumored for months and months that he was cheating on her. And then correct me if I'm wrong. Did he break up with her via Instagram post? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so things are a little on the dicey side here. Claire claiming that basically
allegedly, all this is allegedly, of course.
All this is allegedly, yes. That she found out at the same time that the world did that Matt was ending things. Obviously, things were on the rocks and they were fighting a lot. But what comes out of here is, I mean, there were so many guys vouching for Claire. Do we see someone who was eliminated early on in the season of The Bachelorette? Do we see a Blake Moynes think about things with Claire? Maybe we'll have to have Blake on again and ask him that very question.
Could be also Jason. Jason, if you remember, was the guy cool guy, great. He told a story about his life back home or whatever, and it was very touching. And then he left when Tayshia got on the show. He said, "You know what? I was invested in Claire, so I can't continue. I don't want to waste your time." Essentially, Jason, I'm hearing for sure is would be someone who might be able to go on a date with Claire, and you never know. Maybe they'll find love. Another story that broke online, I don't know if you saw this one, involved Queen and Victoria. Did you see that?
I did happen to see that. Fill our viewers.
I was hoping it was a break news. Damn.
Fill our viewers in on the story, Michael.
So I guess, was it 7 or 8 years ago when she was 20? The mugshot was outstanding. Queen Victoria got busted for stealing, I think it was $250 worth of makeup at a store. And like I said, the mugshot was quite entertaining. And so she did not so good of a person apparently back in the day. That's a lot of makeup. $250. Holy.
Now, if you could compare mugshots, Queen Victoria or Tiger Woods?
Ooh, that's a good one. Man, that Tiger Woods mugshot was just just scary what was going on there. And I hated when all this was going down, when he had to have that mugshot because he had too many painkillers and all the concoction of different ones in his system. How many people were kicking him when he was down? It's like, clearly the man needs help. That is not obviously a normal situation with what's going on. Like he, stumbling, couldn't even, and he wasn't even drinking, if I'm not mistaken. It was just that he had all these
no alcohol. There's no alcohol.
Like, that's obviously scary. But I remember there were so many people who were like laughing at his expense there. So sorry to go a bit of a tangent there. I guess you did ask about Tiger Woods there, but no, I just hated that when kicking someone when they're down, much like I thought a good amount of this episode with Sarah, to bring it back to her. A lot of these women, I'm not saying they have to like her or respect her, but maybe it was bad editing. But we were saying how Queen Victoria, I was saying, has become the voice of reason, and she's becoming this all-star, good, maybe kind of integrated well with the rest of the group. When Katie came back to the whole group and said, "Okay, I just had a chat with Sarah, and she has some family stuff going on. She has to leave." And Victoria was like excitedly clapping. Did you see that? And I was just like, oh, again, it might have been bad editing. She might have not been reacting to that specific. But when someone says they have some family stuff going on back home, and then you excitedly are clapping that she left, that's when I was like, oh, Victoria, no. So it seemed like she sort of reverted back to character a little bit.
Now, what will Queen Victoria do next? You can find out tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. It all gets going. The next episode of The Bachelor. Where will Matt James's journey go next? Find out tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, ABC, City TV, wherever you're watching. Find The Bachelor, whether you watch it live or on PVR. It's going to be very exciting for sure. Now, before we sign off today, Michael, as always, there are a couple things. Sorry. There are a couple things I have to get to here. First of all, you are the host of the H-Dog Pod, and I understand recently you had quite the guest on.
James Cebulski, who used to be at TSN for many years and now does radio for Sportsnet in Vancouver, was on the podcast. Of course, he's the play-by-play voice of NHL 20 and NHL 21. We talked all about the process of him, how many hours, that it took him to do all these lines. I think he said it was like 500 hours that he had to do for all these lines. He was like, he'll be there like for a 4 or 5 hour chunk. It was like very fascinating to hear how he got hired to be the play-by-play guy on that, for those video games. And then, the process of how many lines he has to say, the different inflection and tones he has to say, all the names. It was just really, really cool. And I talked to him about, for the majority of the podcast, about that. And then also a couple of embarrassing moments that he's had on air. You always love that. I always love to ask those questions because there's, I'm sure, plenty. The one I'd forgotten about. This is just one of the two stories. I don't want to give all of it away. At the Raptors game back in the day, he talked to Bruce Willis, and he actually said, "I'm here with a very special guest, Bruce Wilson." And it was like, oh, no. But thankfully for James Cebulski, Bruce Wilson was pretty inebriated at the time, so I don't even think he even realized that he said his name wrong. But
wow,
so James Cebulski was outstanding as a guest. Episode 53 of the podcast.
And you can find the H-Dog Pod on iTunes or anywhere that you find your favorite podcast. Now, of course, we do have our favorites throughout the season. One of mine, Ileana, she got sent packing. She's done. So I only have one lady remaining, and that's Rachel. Do you still have 3 left? No, because Sarah left. Sarah was one of the ones that I picked Maggie, and she seemed really nice, but she hasn't really done it. There's about 4 or 5 women I feel haven't done a whole lot at all. Right. So she hasn't done much. The one, Abigail, was my star pick that I really liked. But we are in a bachelor pool of 55 people. I increased my chances of winning, got a little bit better in this episode. I'm up to 39th in the pool. Not too bad. Not great, of course. Then there's Adam Scully. And I was trying to figure out initially the first week or two, I'm like, okay, where is he, Adam, in the pool? I was trying to find your name. But this last week, I'm like, you know what? Because there's 3 different pages for the standings. I'm like, I'm just going to go straight to the last page. And sure enough, you were there 51st out of 55. Hey. Having said that, I was 53rd before. So I am moving on up, baby. I'm not DFL. I'm not 3rd DFL. I'm now 5th to DFL. I am moving and shaking here. All right.
Something like that.
Something
Yep.
like that for sure. Well, Michael, we are now 8 episodes into the Bros Ceremony presented by Honeybee Meals. Once again, your first order, Bros Ceremony 15 is the discount code. Plug that in. You get 15% off your first order. Honeybeemeals.com. Spread the buzz. We are very excited that Honeybee Meals is on board. Want to thank Alana Milne for joining us here on episode 8 and looking forward to having many more guests on the Bros Ceremony podcast presented by Honeybee Meals. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We'll be posting all these videos and check out honeybeemeals.com. These meals are nutritious, delicious, 3 minutes in the microwave, and you are good to go. This has been another fun edition of the Bros Ceremony presented by Honeybee Meals, and we will see you next time right here on the Bros